devs will be required to go through a stricter approval process if they want to land a game on Oculus standalone Quest headset. The company now requires developers to submit a concept document before they can start the submission process or access non-public development resources, a step Oculus says aims to assess the quantity and potential market success of a potential Quest project. It's a step detailed in a recent post on the Oculus Developer blog, and one that VR developers will want to take a look at before concept submissions open up in March. While Oculus says that a quality-first approach will ultimately benefit developers that launch Quest games, notes of a stricter approval process could be worrying into those developers that were already banking on a Quest game launch a port down the line. Oculus says it's taking a quality-first approach with games and apps on the Quest with the goal of ensuring that the platform becomes a successful content ecosystem for both developers and players. To do that, the company says it's important to curate its storefront and lead with high-quality, innovative titles from indie and AAA developers alike. The goal of this change is developer success on our platform, explains the post. If we feel that your app is not a fit for Quest, we do like to let you know that early in the development process, before you have made significant production investments, rather than at the end. That means it's important to submit a concept document for review as early in your development cycle as possible. The concept document is expected to be a 3-slide presentation that runs through the concept for a Quest application, team experience, investment, and other information. The publishing guidelines for the Quest, meanwhile, are more or less the same as the Oculus Developer Content Guidelines, with a focus on high-quality, polished experiences, especially those that demonstrate the deep, surprising, delightful, and moving experiences possible in VR, and are custom-made for the untethered immersion Quest offers, giving players access to the beta of a new game and new content before its release is a great way to get feedback and find bugs, allowing you to add that extra bit of polish, balance, and quality before the official full release. There are many different ways to give players access to a beta. Which to choose? In this article I do like to give a comprehensive list of options in today's market and discuss the differences. Traditionally, bugs in games are found by QA testing companies. However, hiring a QA company to exhaustively test a complex game is very expensive. Many smaller companies do not have the budget to hire QA at all, or can only get a limited amount of QA, and cannot let QA cover every aspect of the game, let alone doing so repeatedly for every update. However, even if you do have the budget for large amounts of QA testing, that will not give good feedback on whether a new feature is actually fun or balanced. That requires real players experiencing the content in the wild. So whether you can afford paid QA or not, a beta might still be a good idea. There are many aspects to doing a beta. Should everyone get access? Only a limited number of players? Is the beta for a new game that has not released yet, or for new content for an existing game? Is the beta also intended to gather additional development funds, or only for testing purposes? Another interesting topic is what to actually put in a beta. Should it be all the content, or only a portion so as not to spoil the main release too much? There's an interesting bit about that in this talk about Diablo 3. How early should we do a beta? Although these are important questions. To limit the scope of this post, I'm going to ignore the content of the beta. Today I am focusing exclusively on how the beta is delivered to customers. Over the years at Ronimo, we have done a bunch of different approaches to betas. WITHAWNESTOMENUTSAND the recently releasing was Soldiers to Shawarmageddon tried betas before release and final content through DLC and through beta branches, limited paid betas and open betas, and more. That means a large portion of this post is based on our own experiences. But since I want this list to be as comprehensive as possible, I will also discuss approaches that we have not tried ourselves. Since consoles offer very few possibilities for betas, and since Steam is the biggest and most complete platform on PC, this post mostly lists options in Steam. Some of this will probably be possible in similar ways on competing platforms like GOG, itch.io. If I missed anything that's fundamentally different on other platforms, or if I missed some approaches altogether, then please let me know below in the comments, so that I can add them. For updates to an already released game, this is the most common way to do a beta on Steam. When uploading a build, you can select in which branch it should go live. This makes it possible to release a build under a beta branch only. Users can then simply right-click the game in Steam and select the branch they want, after which Steam will download it and replace the main game with a version from the branch. If you want to limit access to the beta, you can set a password for the branch. This works fine, but it's a single password for all users. So if you share this password with players, there's a good chance that some might share it further with others. For Awesomenauts, we got lucky with our community. All players posted the passwords for closed betas publicly online. Undoubtedly some players did share a password with a few friends privately, but that never caused any problems. Branches are also great for internal testing purposes. When we want to test a build internally, or want to provide a build to QA, we also use Steam branches, and simply share the password only internally or with the QA company. For updates, a downside of Steam beta branches is that when you switch to or from a branch, Steam downloads and updates the game to this version. In other words, switching takes time and bandwidth, and it's not possible for users to have both the beta and the main game on their computer simultaneously. If updates are hundreds of megabytes, or even bigger, and this gets cumbersome for users. In cases where Awesomenauts beta did not get a lot of feedback, we often saw players mention that they did not like to wait for the download. Our solution was to not use beta branches anymore, and instead put the entire beta build in a DLC. Users can then enable the DLC to get the beta. This allows them to have both the main game and the beta on their computer simultaneously. On Steam, it's possible to set a DLC to being disabled by default, so users can deliberately choose to get betas, and not by enabling the DLC in the Steam interface. That the beta is a DLC does not mean it needs to be paid. It's possible to do free DLC on Steam. Nevertheless, the option to make the beta paid is useful in some cases. For example, backers of the Starstorm Kickstarter campaign were initially the only players who got Awesomenauts beta access. We could have handled this by making the DLC unlisted in the Steam store and sending keys for it to Kickstarter backers. I guess it's even possible to make a beta a paid DLC directly on Steam, although I imagine this might rub some players the wrong way. For new games, this is the easiest way to do a beta before the release of a game. Just put the build live before the store opens and give keys to the players you want to have access to the beta. A big question with this approach is what to do once the game actually releases. Do those users keep the game, after you revoke those keys. If this was an open beta, then you will probably want to revoke the keys. But in case of a closed beta with a small group, you may also choose to consider the game a gift for those who did beta testing. If you choose to revoke the keys, be sure to do so a few days before launch. I have heard of cases where users could not buy the game on launch because the revocation of the keys had been done too shortly before launch. Steam apparently had not processed that entirely yet. I have no idea how much time is needed for that to not go wrong. But revoking the keys a few days before launch seems safe enough, I guess. Both for new games and for updates.